I lied about my biggest fear on a quiz show and subsequently won a car and made other contestants lose. I was 21 and completely broke when I saw this local game show called Fear Challenge advertising tryouts at the mall. They were looking for contestants willing to face their biggest fears for cash prizes and a brand new Honda Civic. I figured why not? I had nothing to lose except maybe my dignity. During the application process, they made us fill out this questionnaire about our worst fears. Everyone was writing stuff like heights, spiders, snakes, public speaking, basic stuff. But I had a different plan. I wrote down that my biggest fear was being in a room full of clowns. Complete lie. I'm actually terrified of balloons popping, which sounds ridiculous, but the sound makes me jump out of my skin every time. The producers loved my clown answer. They called me back the next week and said I'd be perfect for their Halloween special episode. When I showed up to film, there were 4 other contestants. This guy named Mike, who was scared of heights, a woman called Lisa, who hated snakes, and 2 others with typical phobias. The first challenge was eating gross stuff: cow eyeballs, cricket smoothies, the usual nasty fare. I crushed it because honestly, free food is free food when you're broke. Lisa threw up after the first spoonful and got eliminated. Second challenge was the snake pit. Mike was shaking like a leaf before we even started. They had us crawl through this tunnel filled with harmless but huge pythons to retrieve colored flags. Mike lasted about 10 seconds before he tapped out screaming. I just held my breath and went for it. Snakes don't bother me at all. Now it was down to me and this woman named Janet, who claimed her biggest fear was drowning. She had to retrieve car keys from the bottom of a murky tank while holding her breath. She did pretty well, got the keys in about 45 seconds. Then came my turn. They led me into this room they decorated like a creepy carnival. There were about 15 professional clowns in there, all doing typical clown stuff: honking noses, juggling, making balloon animals. The host explained I had to stay in the room for exactly 60 seconds while the clowns tried to scare me. If I lasted without hitting the panic button, I'd win the car. Here's the thing though, clowns have never bothered me. I actually think they're kind of funny. When I was little, I loved going to the circus, so when they locked me in that room, I was totally fine. The clowns were doing their best to be creepy, getting in my face, making weird noises, but I just stood there smiling. One of them even started making a balloon dog right next to my ear, which normally would have sent me running because of the popping risk. But he was being careful not to pop it, so I was completely calm. The 60 seconds felt like nothing. When they let me out, the host was acting all amazed, like I'd just performed some incredible feat of courage. Janet looked crushed. She shook my hand and congratulated me, but I could tell she really needed that car too. The whole studio audience was cheering as they handed me the keys to a silver Honda Civic. Walking to the parking lot after filming, I felt guilty for about 2 seconds. Then I remembered I'd just won a car worth more than I'd made in the past year combined. Mike caught up with me and asked how I managed to stay so calm with all those clowns. I almost told him the truth, but then just said I used meditation techniques. He seemed impressed. I drove that Honda for 6 years until someone rear-ended me at a red light. The show aired 3 months later during Halloween week. My friends threw a viewing party at the sports bar downtown. Watching myself stay calm while surrounded by clowns on TV was pretty surreal. The editing made it look way more dramatic than it actually was. They added creepy music and kept cutting to shots of Janet looking worried. Nobody ever found out about the balloon thing. But here's the funny part. 2 years later, I was at a kid's birthday party when one of those long balloon animals popped right behind me. I screamed so loud that 3 toddlers started crying. The mom hosting the party looked at me like I was insane and said she'd never seen an adult get that scared of a balloon. I just laughed and told her everyone has their weird fears. That Honda Civic ended up changing my whole life. I was finally able to get a better job since I had reliable transportation, and I used it to drive to community college classes at night. 4 years later, I graduated with an associate degree and got hired at a marketing firm downtown, all because I convinced a room full of clowns that I was braver than I really was.